Gonna do some testing with the Exodia Epidemic Arcane that came with Plaguestar. Got myself 10 of them, as you can see. After a bullet jump or double jump, it emits a shockwave in a forward direction that suspends enemies in the air for a short duration, which is basically the same as Rhino's Stomp, but in a very limited area. As you can see, the timer goes up per rank, so if you're going to get 1, you might as well get 10, because 4 seconds is obviously superior to 1. Just going to slap it on something. You can see that it can be installed on any Zaw. It doesn't have to be a Plague Zaw. That's installed on a generic one, and it can be distilled like any other arcane. You do need 10 to max it out, just like any other arcane. So I'll install a full set on the Scythe, at least what I thought was a Scythe, and then we'll jump into the Simulacrum and test out everything I can think to test. You can see it used all 10. And yeah, let's go. So I've got this build on there at the moment. I haven't used it yet, so I don't know what the damage is like. I had noticed that when you're looking at the appearance here, you can see on the counterweights that they're very smooth, very normal looking. But once you actually get out here and you look at them, they have those little infested spikes on the end of them. And both arcane sets seem to do that. It's also worth noting that the energy color here affects what the wave will look like. Wave of blue. I just put it back on green because that's my preferred for this weapon. It's the same thing, but green. Alright, might just spawn a bunch of butchers in. 20 of them. I'll just put them at 50 to see what kind of damage it actually does, if it does any at all. Did 30. So we're 49 in there as well. That's because I'm stripping their armor. Which is interesting. I do have corrosive on the weapon and it's proccing that pretty reliably, and there is viral there as well. So you can see that explosion at the end. It's because the shockwave itself travels for I think 35 meters, and then it detonates at the end in about a 7 or 8 meter radius. And that explosion seems to be proccing viral pretty consistently, and the wave itself is proccing corrosive pretty consistently. And that's because the... Actually, I don't know if it's because this weapon has viral inbuilt or if it's just something the arcane does. You can see what the radius is like. It does work through walls. Yep. Also works on quick attack like you saw before. Doesn't seem to be refreshable. Like it's not refreshing the duration when I hit a guy that's already suspended. Same mechanic as Stomp. Definitely not. I might just spawn in a few more guys. Not sure why that didn't work. I'll do that. See if it works with verticality. Yes, although how far away is he? 25 meters. Well, it seems when it's at the end of its travel, it doesn't actually suspend them. It causes that explosion. But when they're within range, obviously it does suspend them. Right. There is some verticality to it. Oh. Get up there. Trying to hit this guy. Interesting. It was before, there's not now. So it looks like the wave itself doesn't, but the explosion does. Which makes sense if it explodes in a 7-meter radius. And that extends upwards and downwards. But the wave just seems to be on level. I want to find out if it works on an exalted weapon. So the suspension doesn't, but the explosion is still there. So these enemies still can move, but at the end of the duration, that viral proc and just blast ragdoll is still in effect. That's interesting. Might try it on a few different mobs. Kill them off. I reckon the most important be versus. Interesting. I find that to be quite valuable, because that means frames without any kind of crowd control can still open these guys up a little bit. I'm not sure how useful in general that would be. What else have we got? Mannix. Yep, get it off. So they're still going vulnerable even though they're in stasis. That is really annoying. Yeah, so you can't just lock them up there and kill them. You can hold them stationary for a moment. Kill them before they jump up here. Other useful things. Sentience. There are some ballasts. Heaps. Yeah, that works. Particularly useful if you're using Exalted Blade to hunt them down. Still on a fresh one. Oh, that's right, because it doesn't work on them. It doesn't work on the wave. They still get the damage reduction. Nullifiers. So obviously counts as a projectile, same as an arrow maybe. Explosion doesn't seem to be doing anything either. Unless it's just the explosion that is counting. No, so the wave and the explosion will take one tick off, but they do not go through, which is weird because it's not really an ability. Anything else? Maybe a Juggernaut? Nope. Nullifire's still alive. I don't know if that stunned him and forced him to go up, or if it was going up as I stunned him. Right. That doesn't open his weak points. I suppose if you timed it right, you could lock him with his weak points up. I think that's probably more trouble than it's worth. Right, with Limbo, see if it works through the rift. Let's go back to Butchers. These guys will do. Sorry, I killed that. Weird. So in the rift. And yes, it does work. And the explosion at the end still did damage. A bit further away. It's interesting. It also seems to be wherever you look. Because that's just the mechanic of the ground slam. It's wherever you're looking when you hit the ground is the direction the wave actually travels. If stasis does anything to it. No. See if I can hit something in the rift when I'm outside of it. That's doing too much damage. Don't die. Yep, so it works both ways, although he is frozen in time, so that's pretty relevant. Interesting. Right, on Saren as well. Just want to see if it pops her spores. And if it refunds energy. Is that on him? So yes, it does pop spores. Might make these guys a bit tougher to test that. So the wave itself doesn't. I assume it's just the explosion. So the wave doesn't, the explosion does. Didn't notice if that was refunding energy. Test that. Toxic Lash. Doesn't seem to be. No, definitely not. Can't really think of anything else to test. Could test buffing it and testing condition overload and stuff, but the damage isn't really anything special. I suppose I will test it though. I'm still corrosive, a little bit of viral. I think my Zakti has blast gas and corrosive. I'm just going to spawn 5 of those at max level. So the wave is doing 28. Looked like the explosion did 92. 136. Yes, the blind definitely had an effect. 3s and 6s. 300, 600 that is. Not sure if they're still blind, they are. We'll just wait for that to wear off. $2,500. 1500. I hurt that guy so much because I actually hit him, so it doesn't count. He's dead. So yes, it's buffed by both of those, but it doesn't really seem to be worth buffing. Doesn't give me a description. Yeah. Increases the duration enemies are suspended in the air for 4 seconds. Yeah. Summary. If you slam attack a lot, I guess it's worth having. If you're going to build one, you might as well build 10, because there's no point having that a limited duration. 4 seconds is still pretty short. I feel like it should be doubled, if not higher. I personally never slam attack in missions, so it's not something that I'll be using just regularly, but it may be a mechanic I exploit in like a sortie video or something. If it works on bosses, maybe do crowd control bursts when I'm playing Hydroid or something. Overall, it's pretty cool, but I don't think it's really that impressive. If you like what you see, you can make it. I don't think I would recommend it. It's more of a gimmick than an actual solid use. Yeah, that's it. I think I'm going to go and test the other one. I'll probably split the video and do it in another separate video, just to make it a bit easier for people to selectively view. So yeah, I'll go do that.